Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Mr. Acting Mayor. I declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest in item 10.3, Beef 2024, Rockhampton Showgrounds curfew. Okay, so it's declarable. So there's no two separate sections anymore. Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll start again. That's okay. I declare that I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 10.3, Beef 2024, Rockhampton Showgrounds curfew, as I received hospitality from Beef Australia between 2nd to 8th of May 2021, and the value is greater than $500. As a result of my declarable conflict of interest, I will leave the meeting room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
If anyone else has any interest to declare, Councillor Smith?
Oh, I just wanted to check with the CEO, 10.8, talking about the different clubs and the renewal of leases, and I'm the patron of the Gracemere Croquet Club. The patron is fine?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we'll move on to business outstanding and lifting a matter off from the table. So the officer's recommendation is that we lift the matter and deal with it accordingly, the Workers' Memorial. So I'm happy to move that. Seek a seconder, Councillor Smith. All those in favour? And that's carried. Public forums or deputations, nil. Presentation of petitions, nil. Councillor reports or delegate reports, nil. So we'll move straight on to item 10.1, Workers' Memorial. And we'll just let MJ get to the table. Welcome.
So, good morning, councillors. So, this report is for a permanent workers' memorial in Rockhampton. So, the combined unions of Rockhampton pay their respects to workers that have lost their lives at work on the official Queensland Workers' Memorial Day each year. And assistance has been sought from council to partner with the CFMEU and AMWU towards constructing a permanent memorial. So, we consulted with these unions and have agreed for a location to be the southern end of Colbrand Park, so that's near the New Bridge. And the memorial is, I guess there's an image in the report that it's looked like. How that's going to work, or how it's proposed that it works, is that council will supply the supervision and plant and equipment to undertake the works, and the labour to be provided in kind from the unions. We'll ensure as council officers that all labour provided is trained and qualified to perform the tasks required for the construction of the memorial. Components from the memorial are, I guess, we already have them, so we will also be donating those for the construction.
Okay, any questions to that report? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. I don't have a problem with this as per se. I do have a little problem that there seems to be an inconsistency about what we're doing here. You know, often when we've talked about groups that are more than capable of providing labour, council seems to have shied away from that before. I use the Heritage Village as an example of that, but there are multiple times where people have offered Menshed to do things for us which we have knocked back. So I'm just wondering why the inconsistency with this one. And can I add, before you answer that, MJ, because there's another inconsistency I would see is that the amount that we're contributing to this memorial, when we have war memorials, when we have groups that are wanting to put war memorials, and we're not sort of contributing either in a cost or in kind to those. So there's just those inconsistencies that I see sit with this one. Yep.
So through the chair, the labour that's to be provided in kind will be council employees. So it'll just be that they are donating their time, but they are existing employees. So that's the difference between, I guess, this and other situations. As for the budget contribution. I guess that was just what we've agreed to, not agreed, but negotiated with the unions to make sure that our commitment to workplace health and safety can be, I guess, followed. So, which is why we're providing the supervision, and that supervision is where a majority of the costs from. The materials that are to be used are just old materials that we have are to be recycled. So it's repurposing existing materials that we have no other use for.
Yeah, as I said, it's not a big one. It's just that, you know, I like things to be very consistent. You treat one group one way, that's how you keep going. So there was probably that. And then a final question, if I may.
Yes.
And a little concerned about those plinths with the sharp tips on the top, safety-wise.
Yeah, so they're not as sharp. I guess that's just how the graphical representation of them has come out. Those plinths are actually recycled from the existing war memorial along Lakes Creek Road. So when that was redeveloped, they were put into storage and they'll be repurposed. So they're not as sharp and pointy as what that image displays them to be. They do still have a tip, but it's not sharp.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Mavis.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Very similar questions along those lines, but MJ just answered the question I was asking. Where I read in the report that they were recycled, but I was going to ask where the product was coming from, but you just answered that on there. But Mr. Chair, I'd just also like to say the same thing in regards to I've got no issues with this as such, but just compared to, I know that there's organisations out there looking to do some war memorials, and I just hope that we show those groups as much support as what we're showing this group with those. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Someone happy to move as recommended? Councillor Wilkinson, seconded Councillor Smith. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, next one, item 10.2, the cemetery related activities policy.
Yep, so the cemetery related activities policy was adopted on the 21st of June 2022 with a review within 12 months. So we've completed that review and have recommended a few changes. We've identified that there's need for further guidance around who can apply for burial rights, options for reserving burial sites for terminal patients, and some minimum requirements for headstone beam or similar installations and adornment. So how we manage non-conforming items, that's particularly around memorial gardens when non-conforming items are put on the crypt and we can't have them there. How we manage the storage of long-term for ashes, and how we manage outstanding debt, which is, I guess, from the previous resolution we had about prepayment. So they're, I guess, the main changes that are in that policy.
Any questions, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I've mentioned this before. I'm really disappointed that there's no included in the policy is not the right to pre-purchase plots at Gracemere. This was discussed. I think it was before COVID. We talked about you would pay a fee, and then in 10 years' time, if family couldn't be contacted, those plots reverted to general use. But otherwise it was renewed after 10 years, and it never ever got into the policy. A lot of people don't want to be buried at Gracemere, which leaves, I think originally when we did the upgrade, took it back to cemetery from park use, some of it. It was going to be 50 years we had space for, and I still believe that that's probably the case even now, but I'm really disappointed that that's not the case, because families like to be buried together. If you go to the old cemetery and even North Rockhampton, families are buried together. And I think it's really sad that when they can't be, and you know, you've got to be terminally ill to reserve a plot. So I just, yeah, people at Gracemere expect that they can pre-purchase, and I keep telling them they can't, and they're asking why, because we could always pre-purchase in Fitzroy Shire days, and I don't think there was any that they couldn't contact. When my father died, if my cousin hadn't had the foresight to buy the next 5 graves, my father and his siblings couldn't have been buried together, and they lost their parents when they were little tiny children. So I just think Gracemere has the capacity to do that, and I'm disappointed it's not in the policy.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Yep, so through the chair, we haven't included it in the policy, and it's simply capacity overall. So although we've got the resolution to explore further options at Mam Gardens and explore options at South Rocky, that exploration has not been completed to date. So we're not, we don't have a final, I guess, outcome for those sites. And North Rocky is nearing capacity, and so is Mount Morgan. So until we, I guess, finish that exploration and work out what capacity we have across the region as a whole, we've not put an option in for pre-purchase, because although Gracemere has space, the other cemeteries don't.
Sorry, I do have another question. The capacity at Gracemere for the Ashes Garden, is that, I think it's pretty popular, but what is the capacity there? What are we looking at in years?
I'll have to take that on notice, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Wickerson or Councillor Mathers?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to MJ, if that's okay. MJ, a lot of work's gone into this, I can see that, so thank you very much. It's quite detailed, and we have to have these policies, but you know, the policies can look good on paper, but we've got to make sure that they work in the real world as well. So one of the questions I've got is in regards to, I think somewhere in the report there I saw that, you know, there's a 12-month period before people can put, is it adornments, is that what's called, you know, on top of the grave sites, because of these, you know, soil's got to settle, subsided, and that type of thing. So my question to you is, are we ensuring that that information is being passed on to the general public so they understand why we're saying it needs to be 12 months and it's not just like, this is the policy, this is what it needs to be?
Yes, so we've included that now on the booking form. So when the family sign the form, that goes to the funeral directors. That information is all attached to that. We're in the process of updating the signage at all our cemeteries to better communicate that to the public.
All right, that's great, MJ. Sorry, through the chair. That's great, MJ. Just because, you know, it's a very it's not a good time for people, and quite often they struggle with what they want to do, and they know they see something in their mind, but it doesn't mean, you know, they can't do it. They just need to know they have to wait 12 months. So, but look, thanks very much for the work that's gone into this in the background. I do have to ask just one other question in regards. I know this we're talking about the policy, but I was just wondering, will we be getting an update sometime soon in regards to how things are going with the upkeep of the cemeteries themselves in regards to those fees and charges changes that have were put into place?
Yeah, we can provide. I can provide an update. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mathers. Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Along the same lines as my colleague, a lot of work goes in the background of this. You can just see by the track changes what detail and amendments have been made, and that's in direct response to issues that have come up, and some fairly recent. Last year or two, there's been a number of sensitive issues that have come up, so this is a good response to that. So it's really good that we're listening to the community. As Councillor Grant said, it is a very sensitive time, so it's highly charged with emotional, so it's easy for councillors sometimes to get caught in the middle of it. So some of the amendments also protect our staff from getting caught in the crossfire, because it is a difficult time sometimes, so that's good, and protects council as well. So I really appreciate the work that's gone in. It's also up to be reviewed as time goes on, because things change, and more issues might arise in next year that we've got to be in a position to respond to it and make some wise decisions around. So I really appreciate that. I only have one small question, and that's under, I think it's 5.3 hours of operation. And I understand why cemeteries are closed at night time, particularly for the heritage reasons it says, like South Rockhampton and North Rockhampton as well. But Memorial Gardens is in that, which opens up to a more contemporary cemetery, but Gracemere is not. Cemeteries, sadly, tend to be a target for vandals and other sort of insensitive and destructive attention. But why are those three on there, or why isn't Gracemere on there in other cemeteries? Shouldn't they all be consistently the same hours? I didn't understand the rationale. No offence.
So through the chair, Gracemere Cemetery can't be secured, the other sites can be secured, so that's predominantly why Gracemere doesn't have opening and closing, because there's no way we can patrol it.
No, but doesn't having hours of operation at least give some sort of legal ability to punish people or fine people if they're caught there after hours, even though there's no offence? Difficult to police, I suppose.
I'll take it on notice and get back to you.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wickerson. Any further questions? If not, is someone happy to move? Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Rutherford. No other questions? All those in favour? And that's carried. And Councillor Smith would like to record that she voted in the negative. Okay, Mark, this is getting so close. Yep. Mark, this is getting so close. We always seemed it was way down the track. So Councillor Latcham there has to leave a meeting, has got a conflict of interest. So as soon as his door closes, we will... Oh boy.
It's a good close on.
Yep. There it is.
There it is.
Okay, Mark, across to you.
Well, good morning, councillors. Yes, this is Beef Australia requesting council amend the existing curfew for the Rockhampton Showgrounds for selected nights between the 5th and 11th of May. They are on Sunday the 5th of May, changing to an 11 p.m. finish for their event, The Long Paddock, which is a seated dinner. On the Friday the 10th of May to an 11 p.m. finish for a function in the Robert Shorten Outdoor Pavilion. And on the Saturday the 11th of May, changing the curfew time to midnight to allow their gala ball, which also happens in the Robert Shorten Outdoor Pavilion. These are on the side of the showgrounds which is opposite to residential areas. And most of the music, except for the gala ball, which does have live music, is pretty low risk in terms of its nuisance factor to locals. Yes, so Beef is seeking an exemption to the curfew, and I am recommending that council approve the alteration for those 3 nights.
Thank you. Councillor Rutherford, I thought you might, as Divisional Councillor, have some comments?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think this is fine. You know, it's a huge event, and it's not unreasonable to request these things. And I think working with Beef over the last number of beefs, I think there is a much greater recognition of the community that surrounds the showgrounds and attempt to look after those people and be as courteous as possible. So, you know, I think given that this is something that we certainly can support. Just a couple of things, if I may. I think the bigger issue, more so than the noise of the music, is the clearing out of the grounds after that. And I know we work with Beef, continue to work with Beef to make sure that's done as orderly as possible. So that's the bigger issue, I think, is to continue to look at ways of taking the patrons away from the showgrounds after these functions. And then just the one other thing would be that these curfews are very clear that it's for these events in specific and these locations.
Yep.
I know there has been a time in the past where a band has changed location and did cause a lot of trouble because it was moved from what was supposed to be one side of the showgrounds to another part of the showgrounds, and then that does cause issues.
Yes, I can imagine.
So I think if we can make it very clear that it's these specific locations and these events,
Yep.
you know, it's like everything, it's communication and understanding, and when people have an expectation, then that's what we need to stand by.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Any other questions to that? Someone happy to move as recommended? Councillor Mathers? Councillor Rutherford? I wasn't particularly I didn't want to put you on the spot, Councillor Rutherford, as moving and seconding that. No? So it's been moved by Councillor Mathers, seconded by Councillor Rutherford. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you for that. We'll ask if you can invite Shane back in and Councillor Fletcham back in. And thank you for that, Mark. And next one, moving on to 10.4, See It Live 2024 sole provider. And across to you again.
Yes, each year Council provides for the presentation of a range of performing arts activities. These include performances at the Pilbeam Theatre and other presentations from the Major Venues Unit. Theatre performances include shows within the See It Live theatre season. These also include Morning Melodies, the series of morning concerts for our seniors, and other performances targeted at specific demographic groups such as school-aged children, and other entertainment that we might add to events such as Rockhampton's Taste of the World in the future, and Carols by Candlelight. I am recommending that Council is satisfied that there's only one supplier who is reasonably available, and that because of the specialised nature of the services that are sought, it would be impractical for Council to individually approve the supply of arts and entertainment services as detailed in the report. Now, I do need to bring your attention in the report. There's a chart there which has a list of shows that we're putting on and the supplier. The second one, which is professional development workshops for creatives and performers, we were looking to engage Shake and Stir Theatre Company to come up and provide some professional development for our local community that are involved in our production of Grease. Shake and Stir unfortunately had to pull out of that, but we have sought alternative professional development, and that will fit within the existing policy, so we're able to purchase without need to go to a sole supplier for that. That Shake and Stir professional development activity won't happen, and its replacement fits within the policy and doesn't necessarily need to be in this.
Thank you for that, Mark. Councillor Rutherford.
Thank you. Mark, I was just sort of curious. I noticed that you said you know, it's, I guess, chosen according to different demographics. It would be good to know what those demographics are for these, just a little more information on these events that have been chosen. And I guess the specific question is, what in amongst there is there for teenage young adults? You know, that probably 15 to 25, 30 age bracket.
The 14 is a show specifically aimed at young adults. That is provided by Shake and Stir Theatre Company, and that is a show about school place bullying.
Yeah, I guess that's not not the type of thing I was looking for. You know,
More,
whatever that demographic wants, whether it's music or something, you know, but what is they're looking for, and are we giving it to them? Now, I don't profess to know what that is, but I do see on here, through you,
Yes.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I do see a lot of repeat groups coming through year after year.
Yeah.
And, you know, I start to wonder, do we actually look at the attendance that they're getting to see whether they're worthwhile to bring them back?
absolutely, we do.
Again,
More recently, we have been monitoring the. We've been regularly bringing Opera Queensland, and we looked at that attendance and the feedback we were getting from our patrons, and decided not to go with Opera Queensland again this year for that very reason. And we'll look at if Opera Queensland changes what they're presenting. We might look at them again in the future, but we weren't happy with their product, and our audiences, their feedback wasn't happy with what we were getting either. So no, we do look at that. We do take that into account. We do participate in arts markets and see what's on offer, and we do like to make sure that we pick quality for Rockhampton. There's a lot of, this has a lot of good quality productions, but it's also, you know, got to fit within our budget, and we need to make sure we get a good variety as well. So I do have a chart back in the office, which, you know, I'm looking for some theatre, drama, theatre. We've got some comedy. We've got musical. We don't pick too much music, contemporary music production, because a lot of contemporary music hires the venue and tours through anyway. So things like Amy Shark came through recently. There's no point us purchasing Amy Shark, because Amy Shark's going to hire our venue and come anyway. So that product's already coming to the region. Does that help to answer?
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. Just sometimes I wonder whether we're, and I realise that there's a budget to fit within, and as long as we're checking that, you know, what we're doing is actually pulling a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Then that's, you know, I suppose that's the best we can hope for. You know, it just would be nice to see that young adult drawn to the theatre.
Yeah, that is a really tough market, I can assure you.
Yeah.
Getting young adults to engage in a lot of things is quite tricky, yeah.
Yeah. So that was all. Thanks, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Any other? Yeah, Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, just a question about the 29th of October, the Waru Bangarra Dance Theatre Company. Are they a local production, or?
So Bangarra is, well, you'd call them Australia's premier Indigenous dance company. Waru is actually a children's production and a children's theatre show. Follows the story of a turtle and is told using traditional methods. So when we spoke with local primary schools, they were very excited for this production. It fits right into the curriculum that they're teaching. So yeah, no, this is an exciting production. And Bangarra's quality is quite high. So in terms of, yeah, they're top product.
They're not local?
They're not local, no. No, we are trying to engage more local product, which is where we, with our Morning Melodies season, that's where we're starting to push our local performers, create a product, a show that they can present as part of the Morning Melodies program, so that we can get our local performers into that next step of being able to present product here locally, and then we will film that and help them to sell that to other venues up and down the coast, so we can get our locals out there and presenting product, so we can have more coming from Central Queensland. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Mark, talking about Merry Melodies, it's a little bit off the thing. I attended a school graduation service on Friday evening, and one of the parents came up
That was the, grammar school.
No, it was North Rockhampton Special School.
Okay, yep.
And one of the parents came up and actually commended council on the morning melodies, and just wanted to sort of ask if I can pass on her thanks.
Yeah.
And she said it's, for many, many years, it's the same old, same old. This year, it was, those events that had come up were actually very, very good and quite varied. So it was a perfect time to actually raise that, and I thought
since
that it needs to be mentioned.
It was definitely a formula that was followed pretty closely for 20 years, and then COVID hit, and we had to do a bit of a reset. And Morning Melodies is curated predominantly by all of the venues in Queensland, so we get together and actually work out what we can do together. And we've upped the game and made it a little bit more contemporary, and I think that's been much needed.
Well, pass on my thanks.
Will do.
And normally you get your ears chewed at these type of things, not patted on the back, so I thought it needed to be raised. Any other questions, councillors, to this report? Someone happy to move? Councillor Wickerson, I should have asked that as chairman. And seconded, Councillor Smith. All those in favour? And that's carried. Mark, thank you for that. Welcome.
Through the chair, good morning everybody. First report I've got here is a sole supply for an artwork acquisition report. So this report recommends that council approves the recommendation from Rockhampton Museum of Art curator for the acquisition of the artwork to Rockhampton Museum of Art collection. This is in line with the sole supply guidelines in the local government regulation. The work that we're talking about is Mammoth, which is a large-scale work on paper. It was installed as part of the August-October 22 exhibition program at Rockhampton Museum of Art. Mammoth, it was by Queensland artist Erin Snowball, comprises over 100 sheets of pigment on paper inspired by a poem by Brisbane writer Nathan Shepherdson, which was in turn inspired by Erin Grant's ever-popular Grant's Guide to Fishes. Some of you will probably remember it was displayed in the atrium gallery facing Quay Street. The artwork was a popular feature that greeted visitors even before they entered the building. It was beautifully visible from Quay Street, as you'll all remember. Our Rockhampton Museum of Art curator recommends the use of our acquisition capital budget for the purchase of the work. When considering pricing and value as an artwork, it's representative of the best Australian contemporary painting. The price was a negotiated discount, however, is above the $15,000 threshold, and therefore we're presenting this to council for their consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillors, I actually, sometimes I don't get the value of artwork. This I actually did think was quite something, so I think his art is sort of not everything to everyone, but those that do have those sort of see those key points, and I did think that this was quite impressive. We've got questions there, Councillor Mathers and then Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Through you to John, if that's okay. John, I can recall seeing this last year, I think it was, and that, it certainly catches your attention as you walk in. Just for my own benefit, can you just explain to me, or maybe not, maybe the curator, might, maybe we might be able to find out from there. But what makes this the piece of artwork that you've decided to purchase over all the other artwork that's coming? I'm not saying I've got an issue with this particular. I'm just wondering how does that come about? Is it because it was a great deal, or was it for sale and other artwork isn't for sale? Or just how does it happen to be this particular piece?
I might ask our curator Emily if she's happy to give this explanation.
Emily, I'm not questioning what you're doing. I'm just trying to get an understanding myself. So.
Good morning. Hi,
Morning.
my name's Emily. I'm the curator at Rockhampton Museum of Art. To answer Councillor Mather's question about how we choose which artworks to purchase for the Rockhampton Museum of Art collection, this particular one is one of many that we are considering of purchasing with this year's acquisitions funds. This particular one, we definitely wanted to explore getting it for the collection. This particular work, it has been shown in many cities around the world actually, so it had this international appeal. The artist himself, he lives between Australia and Berlin, so this particular work that we saw in the Rockhampton Museum of Art, it had a lot of international appeal as well. It's already been on show in Berlin, Luxembourg, New York, yeah, lots of cities, and then it's finally come to us, and this really shows it's a very rare opportunity to get an artwork of this international quality, and it can land with us and we can be the care holders for it. So it's pretty exciting for that reason. But I mean, that's one particular reason that I get excited about it, perhaps, but also considering its appeal to our local audience, and it was such a success when it was on show at the Rockhampton Museum of Art, and that's another reason why this particular work, because of its scale, we could certainly have it on show again in another exhibition in the future, and I'm sure a lot of our visitors would love that as well. And yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question there.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Emily. Yeah, like I was saying, I wasn't second-guessing anyone. I was just trying to work out how, and the fact that we're looking at other stuff as well. So it's just obviously as opportunities come through. So once again, that piece of artwork, it won't be there permanently. It will be moved in and out from time to time, and it'll go into the collection and come out on for different exhibitions.
That's right. Yeah, we will keep it. We'll care for it,
yep,
for its to prolong its life as long as possible. But yeah, we are anticipating having it on display as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mathers. Councillor Rutherford.
Probably along similar lines, and it really, I'd like to maybe take away from this particular piece of artwork, but I will use it as an example maybe, and maybe you can help me understand. Because when we look at these sole suppliers, and particularly artwork, basically the artist or the person representing them can ask for any amount of money, and how do we know that it's actually worth that? Now, I googled a little bit last night trying to find this particular artist. The only thing I could see that he had sold was through the Australian system was for $1,800. The other piece hadn't sold at all. So how do we jump from there to $16,000 for a piece of artwork, and how do we justify that?
Sure. Well, I have consulted with his galleries, so his galleries, they won't have that information available for anyone who Googles it, but it's Jan Manton Gallery in Brisbane, and he also has a gallery in Berlin that represents him. So it was about going to them and checking their prices. That was a private conversation, but yeah, we've got that on record as a comparison with his other works. This particular work, it's about 160 pieces of paper. So if we break down that price to each piece of paper, it's actually, yeah, it's quite a large, significant piece of work by this artist, and I would say it's his most important artwork so far as well. So these are factors that we considered. Yeah.
So then also the thing that was going through my mind is that just because we have an art gallery, for my mind, it doesn't mean you have to keep purchasing lots of pieces of material. I wonder sometimes whether we should be saving our money to purchase some of the really significant Australian artists' artwork, as Pilbeam did years ago. I'm not sure that, just because something's available, we necessarily should be getting. Sorry, I'm not phrasing this very well at all, but you know, sometimes you know, I wonder whether we should save our money and buy a really significant piece of art, and even if that means not purchasing something for a couple of years, but at least we have significant pieces of artwork and artists in our collection.
Sure, I think John wants to answer this one.
Quality over quantity, I suppose, is...
Councillor, I thank you for asking that question. I think you'll look forward to the workshop that we're having this afternoon.
I did note
on
that.
On Council's acquisition policy and procedure.
Yep.
And so there's some of the comments that you could make. I think those really significant artworks and those artists, we would certainly look to continue to collect. We don't go about making acquisitions that frequently. It would also depend upon what funding that we have. We as council put probably aside a modest amount of money for capital expenditure each year. Those larger purchases, we'd probably rely upon our philanthropic processes. So yeah, that's a great comment to think about when we discuss the policy and procedure in our workshop this afternoon, and that might be something that we can look at from there. I think in my time, when we've had some opportunities such as this, I think this opportunity is appropriate to take up. That's certainly why I'm supporting it for acceptance. I guess the other thing to be aware of is some of those really big names, we may struggle to purchase some of their works nowadays. I think we were quite fortunate that back in the 70s we got in on the ground floor with some works, and a lot of Australian work now is becoming very popular internationally, so some of those really significant contemporary works are probably harder for us to purchase, but that's a great comment, and we can take that on board and we think about that this afternoon in the workshop, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Letcham.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor, and some really good questions, Councillor Rutherford. It was really interesting to hear. My question is along the lines of, when you talk about the other ones in the pipeline, is it other artworks similar to this, or...?
Yeah, so they've all been considered under the criteria that we want to put for endorsement. Criteria meaning that it's relevant to our audiences, that it is of a certain, quality, artworks that do represent our strengths, which are the contemporary Australian, modern Australian. For another example of items that have not gone over that threshold of $15,000, we are considering a purchase of, for example, we had a Gail Mabo print. So Gail Mabo, being the daughter of Eddie Mabo, she had an exhibition also in the same Atrium Gallery space last year, and because of the success of her exhibition, we have decided, she's definitely a person that our audience would like to see again. So we've purchased a print from her that, again, it kind of matches that same criteria as this one we're putting forward, but it's just of a smaller price tag because it's a print.
Sorry, sorry, I probably wasn't clear enough. Is there any more artworks in the pipeline from this artist?
Oh, from this artist. Sorry, I didn't catch that one. No, this is the only artwork that has been offered, and it's the only artwork we'll be considering.
And just another question, if I may, Mr Deputy Mayor. The actual artwork itself, it's on paper as opposed to card, is that right?
Yeah,
it's
that's
just normal right. A4.
Yeah, about A3 size. Yeah, and it's, if it helps, it's archival paper, and the pigment and the alkali glue that's used are all of an archival quality. So we are confident that it will last much longer than your average paperwork. It'll be, many decades into the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to understand the technique, because obviously not from me, I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
The actual, each page, how did they do it? Was it painted on? Was it photocopied on? Was it?
It's painted. Painted. Yeah. So the pigment, is wet because of the glue. This, as far as I understand it. So it is a painting on paper, essentially. Yeah, and and because it's hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but 160 odd sheets, and they're all attached to the wall individually. So it's always an immense task to put them on the wall as well.
So I assume they've got a number on the back of each one,
Yep.
so you can link them up
Yeah.
in the jigsaw.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Councillor Latcham has asked the question I had in mind too. I hope they're all numbered, a bit like our mural downstairs, otherwise it's the world's worst, hardest jigsaw. But I had some comments, and probably to address Councillor Rutherford's concerns. Back when, and John has semi-answered this too, back when Rex Pilbeam and the Bishop went and collected all these, what are now really significant Australian pieces like Drysdale and others, they weren't so. They were up and coming, and probably not, the mainstream person wouldn't have known who these artists were, but we got in on the ground floor through a bit of skullduggery, I understand, and purchased all these works. So I think my point is that we have to rely on our staff that have got the expertise to see an eye for what might be the up-and-coming collectible pieces. Art isn't for everyone. I think Councillor Latcham made this point too. It's in the eye of the beholder, so some things I get, some things I don't, but that's just the nature of the beast. And even with the industry of it, talking about the value of it, it's a bit superfluous because I don't think we intend to or have ever sold any of our pieces. So, you know, if you're a private gallery, you might buy it for $16,000, hoping it's going to be worth 20 in a couple of years' time for $1 million. We're not in that game. We're just about developing our collection so that it keeps it fresh and we keep people coming back to Rockhampton to view our cultural collections, our own and also travelling exhibitions. That's what the gallery is all about. So I think to keep it fresh and having things coming in at the discretion of our learned staff is probably what it's all about. So I understand that not everyone's going to get it all the time, and we'll wonder, you know, how can 160 pieces of paper be worth that much with, you know, something on it? But that's just the nature of the industry. We've got to keep it fresh and got to keep it appealing to people that will travel here and spend all their money while they're staying here, Mr Chair.
Definitely. Any further questions? Emily, thank you for explaining that. I don't have any questions. Happy, Mr Chair, to move. Seek a seconder. Councillor Mathers, all those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Once again, Emily, thank you.
Thank you.
John, thank you very much for your explanations as well. But you're still back. Next item, item 10.6, Rockhampton Heritage Village Business Operational Improvement Report. Across to you.
Through the Chair, yes, here we've got a report just giving an update on where things are at with the Heritage Village. So this report's only to be received, but you might remember we've done some work in the Heritage Village and it was closed during COVID, so this is just a bit of an update of how things are at after that time period. So, as I'll speak to the report, after the completion of our operational and business plan review and accompanying workshops in 2021, a progressive approach has been taken to the improvement of Rockhampton Heritage Village. And that focus was in response to budget and delivery capacity. There was no major change in the direction of the focus of the Heritage Village, with the primary and secondary objectives remaining. So the primary objective is to present a presentation of an engaging and educating lived heritage experience that focuses on the post-settlement period of Rockhampton's history between 1840 and 1940. This is to be achieved by a sustainable and safe manner in keeping with the regulations of our trustee lease for the site. The secondary objectives, which you are all aware that we try to achieve as well, is to have leveraging the facility's scope and character of the site to support delivery of events and activities that do not conflict with the sustainable operation, provision of lease spaces for organisations complementary to the heritage offering, so those will be things such as the Australian Country Hospital Association, and provision of volunteering and engagement opportunities in support of the safe and sustainable operation of the Heritage Village and its primary objective. If we wanted to try and evaluate this, we'd be looking at how the usage and attendance of the site would be compared against our ongoing operational costs, so that changes from a CPI perspective from year to year. And the good news is that standard Heritage Village attendance, so this is just people coming to visit the site without all of the other events and activities, is 23,632 for the financial year 23-24, and that exceeded the 18-19 figure of 21,838, which was the last full year prior to COVID, because we know a whole lot of things changed during and after COVID. So it's great to know that we've returned to that level of attendance. So without the capacity for transformative capital investment or significant alteration to the lease conditions, this progressive approach to business operational improvement will remain focused on optimising the heritage experience and site utilisation in a sustainable manner. Of course, as we're probably aware, we have some other considerations as we go about managing that site. We want to maintain and improve our work health and safety standards for appropriate human resource management, training and infrastructure and maintenance and site practices. Improve the management of the heritage collection and heritage built infrastructure, and ensure the venue hire processes and event delivery practices support sustainable operation. Probably the thing to be aware of at the Heritage Village since we've gone through the COVID process is that we've had a few human resource matters to manage. So we had the resignation of a long-term Heritage Village supervisor, resignation of long-term functions team leader. There's been a general increase in costs in line with inflation, which we're all aware about. Our friends of the Heritage Village confirmed that inability to manage the delivery of market days. We've had a requirement for increasing focus on work health and safety considerations with regards to built environment, worker and including volunteer safety. And there's also been the inability for us to recruit staff with an appropriate mix of heritage and museum services skill mix. So when we went out for some of the replace some of these positions, we did look for people with some defined museum and heritage management collection experience, but we couldn't find somebody with the right mix to deliver that as well as our operational requirements. But nonetheless, we've sort of moved forward with the different areas of operation at the Heritage Village and some of the completed actions in our different areas of focus. So venue hire and food services, we've ceased food and beverage offerings, which was decided during the COVID operation plan. So we're transitioned to dry hire. The cafe offerings being refined to decrease wastage and delivery requirements on volunteers. We've refined and increased our targeted venue hire promotion. We've transitioned from an old point of sale system to another point of sale system that's used across the communities and culture to get some efficiencies of operations. And we've upgraded the CCTV camera system specifically in response to moving to dry hire, so we can responsibly manage the site while we don't have our staff delivering the events. 35 events were delivered in 22-23. While we've not returned to pre-COVID peak events of 49, their discrete venue and food service budget has returned a small surplus in 23-24, which was really encouraging because it's been challenging for us to deliver food service delivery in a financially sustainable manner. So this tightening of focus has helped us achieve break even for that service. We are considering some other matters which are, while they're operational, I thought it's worth including in the report. We're considering relinquishing our liquor licence because we transitioned to dry hire. For us to retain our liquor licence, we need to maintain an annual fee, and every time we need to reduce our licence area so external providers can operate under their liquor licence, there's an application fee there. And we're also considering relinquishing the Shearing Shed food licence and catering endorsement because we're not doing food service or catering at the Shearing Shed. We'll look at relinquishing that. We will, however, of course, maintain that food licensing for the cafe. Moving on to site presentation and infrastructure management. As hopefully you'll all have noticed, we've gone about a whole range of works at the Heritage Village, including the garden beds at the front of the site are realigned. We've replaced the corner sign. We've redesigned and improved the car park flow and entryway, certainly increasing safety in the front of the Heritage Village there. We've got more advertising scrim on the highway to advertise the site. We've successfully installed the fence separating the back of house to the front of house Heritage Village sites, and it's been installed in a manner that's in keeping with the aesthetic of the Heritage Village. We've established a schedule for site maintenance activities that occur during time periods where we're not open to the public. We've removed non-period house structure from the site, and we've further upgraded some lighting around the site and the oval. We'll be considering some further improvements as budget allows, as with the car park entrance and wayfinding signage, continue site tidy of non-collection items distributed across the site, so trying to lift the standard of presentation there. And then we're going to complete a prioritisation and rectification or removal of non-compliant heritage collection site structures. So just like the house that we have there, that was there, if there's anything left on site that's not of that nature, we'll consider whether it needs to be removed so that we don't keep incurring some infrastructure costs. On to volunteer management and friends engagement. We've introduced a volunteer management system to better track induction safety and competency. We're moving to rostering volunteers at specific times when their services are needed. We have confirmed that the Friends is responsible for the management of the relationship with volunteers independent of our Friends group because their capacity is dwindling. We, though, have successfully signed an MOU with the Friends of the Heritage Village, which has been outstanding, so that's really pleasing. We'll continue to improve our rostering for workshops for volunteers to deliver. Also to try and, we'll do some, we're going through a process of engaging with the volunteers to find out what they're interested in. We've had some initial meetings about them starting to deliver some period site activations. I think Councillor Wickerson would be pleased to hear that through the chair, and we're going to hopefully do a soft launch of this kind of activity that we can demonstrate is going to happen on a Tuesday. This one's going to happen on a Thursday, so that's really encouraging that they're interested in that. Then on to our heritage collection management. So we are continuing to dispose of non-period items that aren't required. Some of you may have seen them go through internal council disposal. But within that collection management, the next step for us is to hopefully seek and recruit an appropriate skilled museum or heritage qualified professional to assist us with the development of a collection management plan for the Heritage Village. And then we'll look at reviewing or obtaining a collection management database. And then we're going to look to apply this collection management process to everything at the Heritage Village. And of course, our collection management policy and procedure for the Heritage Village is something that I'll be bringing to the council table for approval. So during the operational improvement phase, we have expended $573,000, and you can see the amounts of improvements that we've listed that upon, which was part of the initiative which was undertaken during COVID. And that's just an update on how we've been going at the Heritage Village. I invite questions if you have any. Thank you.
Go to Committee Chair, Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. You may have picked up previously, I'm a little bit passionate about the Heritage Village. I've got some comments. I'm very pleased that we're using this time when we haven't got bucket loads of spare cash to keep developing the places. I hope we will get back to one day, but just to consolidate what we've got. So to clean up the site, which is amazing, all that front of house and garden area so we can actually see the place and make it look attractive. A little bit disappointed with the sign that's on the corner. I remember when I first came to the table yonks ago, I think the concept was for fairly plain green sign to be put up, and I remember complaining that that would be a bad choice because it's like urban camouflage. Well, that's exactly what we've got. I think it's probably one of the more boring signs I've ever seen in my life, but anyway, that's who am I to say. Hopefully we can look at that once someone wears out, make it a bit more exciting and interesting to represent what we've got. The signage along the fence is great though. That sort of not only screams out the real world from our fantasy world inside, but also promotes what the place is. I think we need to look at other sites for billboards too, because really, once you see it, you pass it and you're on your way to Mackay. So, I mean, that's for another discussion. I'm really keen to, down the track, have discussions about relinquishing our liquor licence and the food licence. I know at the moment they seem to be redundant, but again, we're in that sort of bit of a holding pattern at the moment. I'd hate to give it back and then have all sorts of trouble trying to recover it. I think we've had some chats about, do we set up one day down the track a pub or something like that, like they do at Calliope, really successful, and that's run by volunteers and others. But we're anxious about there being a pub right across the road. Well, we got in first. We were there well before that. The Parkhurst Tavern was built. I worry now if we give this licence back, and it's not a huge amount of money we'd save. If it was, I'd probably reconsider it. But if we give it back, the argument could be made, well, there's a pub right across the road, no, you can't have it. So I think we just got to be a little bit careful about handing it back too quickly. And I understand now we're not using it, but who knows in 5 or 10 years, we might be building a place that would have a good opportunity to generate some income through liquor and beverage and food servings. Again, not now, but I don't want to cut off our nose for that. The same with the food a little bit too. I know we're not using it at the moment, but who knows what's down the track a bit. So to give it back, might have all sorts of strife getting it recovered later on. So I just want to approach that with caution and have some good discussion about it. Cleaning up and getting rid of some of the non-period pieces out there, I'm really pleased to see that, as well as the activations of it. I've always grown when we go there. We put so much time into making sure we've done the research that if we build a replica building or bring a house in that's being slated for demolition somewhere else, that we're terribly authentic and accurate about it. So then to go and put a brand new tin shed somewhere because it's easy, I just cringe at that. So if we're going back now and revisiting what's there that shouldn't be and removing it systematically, that's a good thing. And also that activation. So the place is always supposed to be, as we said right in the initial preamble, that it's living history. So unless we're having that living element of it, it's not. It's just a collection of old stuff. So to have, again down the track, an officer with that sort of background that can put all of those elements together, put a narrative together so it actually tells the story about Rockhampton. That's what it should be about. It's a story that'll sell the place, not so much the old stuff. I mean, that's just the stage set, to put it in theatre terms, to let us tell that story. So we never quite got to that. And probably the overall thing is that this is an operational update or report. I'm pretty sure in our strategic plan somewhere it says that we're going to develop a proper business case for the place moving forward. So whether that's a 5 or 10 year plan that says, okay, this is how we do it, but this is the why we're doing it and where we're headed with it. If we don't have that strategy in place, we're never going to get there. We're always just going to be doing tinkering around the edges and not actually getting into the guts of what the place is. And if we don't do that, it'll just fail. We're not going to have the marketing or the content or the services that we're putting up to make it survive. So I think we really need to have a hard look about, is it what the initial intention of the place, is that still the case, or is it something different? I always worry, I think right near the beginning it says one of the second objectives was to have events out there that don't conflict with the sustainability of it. I agree with that, but also so they don't conflict with the original purpose of it, which is to have this living history museum. So we have to be careful we don't sell our soul and have all sorts of events out there that don't fit with what the intent is, otherwise a mishmash of all sorts of things. So we just have to be careful and stay true to the course when we decide what that is through the business case. So, but I appreciate all the work that's going on so far and the tidying up and start making it pretend that's a good first step, but we've got a fair way to go. So,
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. We've got Councillor Smith, then Councillor Action, then Councillor Mathers.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Just under future actions, future improvement actions, John, there's no page number, so I can't tell you what page it is. I just wondered why the mechanism to allow other operators to sell alcohol has cost $1,396.30, which is more than the annual licence fee. I just wondered why that would be the case.
So, through the Chair, part of the challenge of running this heritage site is that we employ people under council rates. We're not as competitive as commercial organisations with what we pay staff. That's one of the challenges with this site generally. The ambitions that we might have for having it be more than it is requires us to employ people. So that's always a bit of a challenge. So what happens here is if you have a liquor licence, under your licence class, you pay a fee. If you're then not the individual selling the licence, you have to pay an application fee to remove the licence. And that's what we are doing every time we hire the venue out. So we made the decision that we were going to be a dry hire only venue, so we're not serving any alcohol. We still have a licence. For us to allow somebody else to serve on our licence, we have to pay an application fee to reduce our licence every single time. So that's what's occurring. So next year we'll be looking at paying $780 for our annual licence fee. and then we'll be looking to pay another $1,300 to $1,400 to then reduce that licence.
Yeah, sorry, I don't understand this reducing the licence, but anyway.
So if you hold a liquor licence, you as the company or the organisation must serve the alcohol, because we're not serving the alcohol on that defined area. We have to pay a fee to the OLGA, the Office of Liquor, Gaming and Regulation, to then reduce our organisation's licence for somebody else to bring their portable liquor licence with them and serve alcohol on that site.
Okay,
It seems silly, but it seems strange, but yes, that's the case.
Yeah, I went to a wedding there not long ago, and then I realised that we were on dry hire, so I wondered why, they didn't have our uniform on. So can I just ask you, so we dry hire it to a catering company, obviously they get the liquor licence. Is there someone, do we check to make sure there's someone there with an RSA? Is that what they call it?
That's no longer our responsibility, because we're not the licence holder. So we wouldn't be doing that, Councillor Smith.
Oh, okay. So they would presumably have someone with an RSA?
Yes, that's their responsibility under the licensing regulations.
Because, and they could sell the alcohol, like some people that have weddings, probably shout drinks to a certain dollar, and then they sell them, so they're allowed to sell the drinks as well.
Correct.
It's just that, I shouldn't talk about people's wedding, but anyway, I was just a bit concerned because, one of the, and it wasn't a young wedding, one of the people that were running it had to keep going and getting the alcohol for these people to give it out, and I just thought about the RSA then, and what happens, if you've got someone with RSA and someone's,
It's not our responsibility.
Yeah, okay. And sorry, can I just add that I totally agree with Councillor Wickerson about giving your licence back. I've seen people do that at a service station in Rocky a long, long time ago, and then we're really sorry they did, because it was the only service station that ever had a liquor licence. And once you give it back, it's very, very hard to get it again.
Yeah, I think the thing for Council, certainly Councillor Wickerson and I agree on many things. Probably the challenge that we have here is alcohol service and running a hotel, a business that Council wants to be in. That would be something we could consider in the future. But if we want to be assured of having that facility available to us, we'll just continue to maintain our licence and then reduce our licence fee as required, and that's part of our standard operating cost for us to then have that option into the future.
Sorry, I have thought of something else, sorry. I didn't bring my book with me today to write things down. Also, with not having people in the catering and also, behind the bar, it doesn't say that we've saved a lot of money by not having that. I suppose the income we had was
my comment earlier about the functions and events business, we always struggled making that element break even.
Yeah.
In fact, we weren't making that element break even because of the challenges of delivering food and beverage service within a council operating environment and industrial structure. So we removed that, and the comment about how 22-23 our food and beverage and our venue hire element breaking even, that speaks specifically to that. So we have made a saving by not trying to deliver that ourselves. But then again, the thing to make sure there is can we do that in a way that still respects the site, which is why we had the CCTV footage installed. We've got our processes in site where we hand the venue over and then take the venue back. And so far, the good news is that the people have been respecting our venue and respecting our site. And that's always the challenge that we have if we're not operating it ourselves. But so far it's working really quite well, which is pleasing, because that was a plan which was made by the council table at the time of COVID.
Thank you for that. Councillor Smith? Good. Councillor Latcham?
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Through to John. A few comments to add on to Councillor Wickerson. I agree with most of what he said. At the end of the day, the Heritage Village, in my mind, is about visitability, it's for tourism, and it's also about livability. It gets well supported by the schools and our
Very
whole
much
community. And to me, it's no different to the libraries. It costs money, they get a return on it. And we probably argue that probably got too many libraries, but value for money. Heritage Village is one of our key things in the region that makes it a reason to come to this region and visitability. When it comes to your potential future improvement actions, I just want to touch on those if I can. I do agree with the other councillors. I have concerns as to getting rid of that licence fee.
Sure.
Because we don't know what's going to happen, and it's true. It'll be almost impossible to get it back if you let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality, because obviously you'll get objections, especially from next door. And for the small fee overall, I don't think it's a big issue. So not really supporting of the surrender of the liquor licence. As for the food licence, I don't understand how it's a savings to get rid of it, because that money goes back to council anyway. It's a council fee to have a food licence. So how do you save money by getting rid of it?
I probably look at how this budget operates. I mean, if we're happy then that we're paying money from this budget into the next one, into someone else's, that's fine. It's also just one more piece of administrative work that we have to do.
I just would have thought it would be good to have, it's a great kitchen set up there.
Yep.
Surely it's a benefit to have a commercial kitchen status for it. To get rid of your food licence, then don't you sacrifice that?
Yeah, it's just that we wouldn't be the people operating the food licence. So the provider who then uses that, their licensing would come with them about their standard of operation.
I just would have thought you need a commercial kitchen to operate, or especially a catering mob coming in. It'd be handier to come into a commercial kitchen situation. So that one there. The other thing I just want to raise is we did commit $1 million to doing up the place, and we spent $500,000, and that stopped. And I don't know, is there any plans?
I believe that.
Budget, I get that.
Yep, that was considered in the budget process.
Okay, so it's kind of a bit disappointing to see we didn't go through with those commitments to improve it. So that's just probably. I get that, Mr. CEO, but it was a commitment at the time to invest into the Heritage Village. And I know because of budget deliberations, we had to look for savings. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that one. As for the screen signage on the fencing, which looks amazing, and the bit of vegetation that's growing up through there, it's looking good, although it probably just looks a little bit tired as you drive along Yamba Road. The plantings they did there, it seems to have a lot of weeds and stuff through there, so it's just probably not looking as immaculate as it was first planted.
Okay.
So just a comment on
Sure.
that one.
Yeah.
And if I've got anything else. Last question. The Purple House, what is that?
That's just one of the structures that we have there. Its proper name is, Pat? Nielsen's Cottage. Sorry, it's colloquially referred to as the Purple House.
And what's its purpose?
Oh, Nielsen's Cottage, we're going through a process there where we've moved a lot of the fabric costumes that we have there out of the old demountable building, which we've now turned over and converted into a much nicer accommodation for the volunteers, and we're moving them all back into behind Nielsen's Cottage, and we're sort of building up and tidying up a storage area for that.
All right. Thank you, John.
That's okay.
Thank you. Councillor Latcham. Councillor Mathers.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Through you to John, if that's all right. John, just want to say, look, I think what the staff and the volunteers are doing out there is absolutely fantastic. As Councillor Wickerson will probably tell you, I've always been quite vocal in regards to my concerns with the maintenance and operational costs for ratepayers versus the amount of people coming through the gate. So I'm really pleased to see the increase in numbers here. And I'm sure with the hard work that's happening out there, that will continue. So that's very heartening to see. In regards to the shearing shed, I was going to ask a similar question because I saw that the numbers weren't dropping, but it shows you the operational cost or expense for council when we could be 14 events less compared to pre-COVID, and yet we've actually finally breaking even. So I understand the way you're looking at it from a business sense, but I would be concerned also, as with the other councils that mentioned it, with regards to handing back licences at this present point in time, just because I think it leaves the door open. So I just wanted to say that as well. But one of the questions that I did have for you was in regards to those 14 events that haven't happened at the shearing shed versus back in 18, 19. Do you think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have only just gone to dry hire? Do you think that's why we're getting less numbers? I understand that it's financially better, but do you think that's the reason why we've, you know...
I don't think so. I think it may very well have been that we stopped operating and then people found other alternatives. Yep. So I would really hope that we would be getting back to the numbers that we had previously. Potentially the numbers we had previously could have been because we may have done too good a deal on food and alcohol service, and thereby that element putting a bit of an operational cost on the overall of the Heritage Village. So I'd really hope that our numbers would return, and the thing we probably want to try and make sure that we do is get as much value out of the Heritage the shearing shed as possible. I think probably one of the challenges that we all know that we have at the shearing shed is that it's not air conditioned. So whether it's getting hotter or not, people are talking about things being hot all of the time and always wanting air conditioning. So I think that that's the thing that we may have to deal with there. I'd love to see that it will return. But some of the work which has occurred, which necessarily hasn't been listed in here, if you've been there recently, we've got the beautiful new fairy lights in. A lot of the leads and the cabling has been tidied up. So while we might not have been able to spend $1 million, I'll just say Pat, our acting Heritage Village Supervisor, is doing a great job there with the team. And we're really trying to lift that overall standard within the resources that we've got. So I'd really hope to see that these numbers will start to return.
Yeah, thanks. Just one more, Mr. Chair, if that's right. Yeah, when we were out there for the volunteers luncheon, it was, you could sort of see that it was a lot tidier than last time I was out there, so they are doing a great job. But I think, even with yourself, it's great to hear you think those numbers will automatically increase, which means that, that part of your business sector will be able to return a little bit of profit, and then hopefully, if we still retain licences, we never know where it might go in the future.
Certainly.
So great work, John. Thanks very much.
No problem at all. And I would say that those attendance numbers, those are the natural attendance numbers. If you look at your operational reports that you receive each month, the overall attendance is much higher than that, because we have tours and events and that kind of thing. What we're really focusing on there is the people who are coming to the Heritage Village just casually to experience our base offerings. So, we want to push that as high as we can, and if we can get more, I'm hopeful with the volunteers hopefully making themselves available for the activation, which Councillor Wickerson really love to see, that we'll start to be able to see that.
Thank you. I'll just make a comment first. Overall, John, I think I agree with Councillor Wickerson. The improvements can be seen. Seen it neat, and a lot of those things that we were getting members of the public sort of just commenting on, you've addressed all of those, and that I think has been a real big tick. The other thing I'd like to comment on, the air conditioning of the shearing shed. I have to admit that would be a positive as far as having that space available. Only this last week we had LawMac meeting in Rockhampton. 130 attendees. Rockhampton is really light on for really good facilities like that, at that number. We're really good up to 100, but as soon as you cross that 100, it is actually quite a challenge. And we're not alone. Some of our other centres have the same issues, and I think, I know that 120 is even more you can cater that really well, because my own daughter's wedding, we had more than that in numbers, and yeah, we could still have room to move. But it would be great to actually see that investment in the air conditioning, and I think that could actually help that centre as far as sort of being able to attract numbers and events, because honestly, I don't want to see everyone going down to the convention centre at the sailing club when we've got a facility that's even, I think, more impressive.
Through the chair, we can look at prioritising getting some costing for that. I think that may have been investigated in the past. It would be reasonably costly. I think part of the challenge would be able to do it in an effective manner, but still respect the ambience of the site, because it's really quite beautiful.
Be something even, what grants were available as well that would just boost the numbers, because it tells a great story. I'm very proud of what we have at the Heritage Village, and the volunteers and what your team have done has been impressive. So thank you for that. But I definitely would like to see that explored. I think councillors probably all would agree with that as well. So, Councillor Wickerson, sorry, Councillor Smith?
Sorry, Mr Chair, there was something I meant to ask. But first of all, John, thanks for the report, and I can definitely see improvements as well. It's one of my favourite places to go to, I can tell you. I just noticed we've had 2 resignations. I just wondered how many staff we have there now. I'm sure I looked twice in the report to make sure I hadn't missed it.
Off the top of my head, we run this site on an FTE equivalent of about 4.9 staff. It might now be over 5.2, so it's actually really quite a low number of staff. When you consider it's open 7 days a week, 360 days a year, and even on those other days we've got to feed the animals that we have there. So, yes, not a lot of staff.
Yeah, and just talking to the volunteers the other morning at the breakfast, they seem to be a happy bunch. Sometimes, you go to those breakfasts and you get complaints, or, some of their thoughts. But, I thought people were generally happy at the breakfast. Yeah, that's, through the chair, the community has a challenge with volunteers. We have dwindling volunteer numbers, so the people that we've got at the Heritage Village, and the way you can see in the report that we've rebalanced some of our delivery responsibilities. We just try to make the space as sustainable as possible and enjoyable as possible with the volunteers. And this report is in response to a requirement in the operational plan, and you'll see, if you remember, there'll be another. The operational plan is also asking for a report on the other heritage organisations around the community, and I'll be bringing that to us in the new year. And so with that in mind, we can then consider a way forward if there's anything we need to do.
Thank you for that, John. Councillor Latcham.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Minister. John, you mentioned animals. What animals have we got left there, besides the horses?
We've got the horses, we've got a few donkeys, we have chickens and geese, and maybe a couple of sheep.
A couple of what, sorry?
I think, do we still get the sheep?
Sheep.
So I beg your pardon, through everybody online, through the chair, we have a range of farmyard animals there. Without seemingly being brutal, which I'm often accused of, we are considering what's the right balance to have.
I would never have expected that you would be classed as brutal.
A comment from Councillor Smith is that the kids do love seeing the animals, and that's accurate. So what we need to do is consider the balance of animals that we've got there as far as sustainability goes, but also having a little bit enough of a representation of animals that you might have expected to see around your home in the 1840s. So we'll try to maintain that balance, and also while it can be a challenge, certainly it's a challenge to deliver, we still do have our carriage there, and we need the appropriate horses to pull that carriage, and there's, I believe, still an expectation that's something that you can see at the Heritage Village. So they're all just the sort of things we have to keep in balance to operate the Heritage Village within what's reasonable for council.
And just one follow-up question. Thanks, John.
That's all right.
Is the horses, I would assume or think that the horses were your biggest expense when it comes to having them and looking after them and maintaining them. For a couple of times that they get used throughout the year, would it be more economical to potentially gift or donate the horses to Steve, the guy who has the carriage up and down the area, and then contract him out for the couple of times a year for him to maintain the carriages? Surely that's more economical or financially sustainable.
I can take that on notice about whether people would like to consider that.
Just an option, just throwing it out, because obviously it would be a fairly large expense, and I'm assuming you'd have a person looking specifically, one person full-time equivalent looking after.
One of the staff that we have do need to have horse care capacity, and we also train staff in operating the carriage ourselves. That's certainly something we could consider. I would probably say that would have come back to our ambition about actually seeing that coach being pulled. We would have to find a provider that's happy for their horses to pull that coach. Then they would have to probably bring the horses to us or be happy to adjust the horses on our site, and that would be a whole nother process in how we go about managing the delivery of that service.
I don't want to get rid of the service. I think it's a great asset to the Heritage Village.
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't need to own it to provide it.
Certainly.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can consider that.
Councillor Smith.
Yep. Comment. But when the horses aren't being used, like when the kids go through or whatever, when it's not an open day, like people are still looking at those horses and their heritage, like they're from the old days, the Clydesdales, and I think people still need to see them. They're part of the look of the whole place.
Councillor Rutherford.
Thank you. John, I'll be looking forward to seeing all those animals named so that none of them end up as Christmas lunch. Thank you.
Councillor Wickerson, Councillor Rutherford, we'll manage those resources appropriately.
Well done, that's very appropriately answered. Thank you, John. Any other questions? Look, as you can see, John, we are all very passionate about the Heritage Village, and I think it's one of those facilities there that we want to see grow and develop, but also mindful when the Grants Commission took all of that money from our region, and that has really made some hard times, and that what your team is doing and across council, we've been able to work and keep these great facilities going and actually improving is a credit to everybody there. So I love seeing the improvements and those as you're carrying it through the Heritage Village, and also pass on, I think, the table's gratitude to the volunteers as well. Thank you for that. If there's no other questions, Mr. Chair, are you happy?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, I am, with possibly, and I appreciate Council Law's support, talking about the liquor licence handing back, so maybe with some notation that we carefully consider this before it's removed. I don't want to find in January that it's been taken away with no consultation with us, so that's, as long as that's clear, and I think the table's made that clear. I think we should add a cow to the mix of animals, maybe sacrificing. Poor use of word, retiring our donkeys, are they?
Yes.
If they're not doing their job, oh, they're smelly. if they're not serving a purpose, and every time we go to an event like a Fate or something, or even Capricorn had it with a kids petting zoo, hugely popular and fits in. Like every farmyard has baby animals, so so if we have something like this, again, down the track when we've got the staff to do it, we've got to look at every avenue for activating it. So, but Des, happy to move, Mr Chair, with a notation about the liquor licensing.
Do you want to actually put that as received?
I think it's to be received, Mr Chair, as long as it's clear that...
I think John's taken that on.
No, through the Chair, thank you for that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that to the table's attention, to get your feedback on that idea. So thank you for thinking about that and giving us that feedback back. Appreciate it.
Councillor Wilkinson has moved, seconded by Councillor Latcham. All those in favour, and that's carried unanimously. That was a good report. Happy with that discussion, and as you can see, the table is very passionate about the Heritage Village and its ongoing successes and developments. So thank you very much, John. Councillors, are you still happy to keep going? Yep. Yeah, okay. We'll keep going at sort of 10:30. We might go on a little bit longer. Okay, we have now got item 10.7, the CQ Capras lease change request. And across to you, Jack.
Right, thank you, Mr Mayor. Good morning, through the Chair. Oh,
Acting Mayor.
Acting Mayor, sorry.
Not quite the biggest target in...
Oh, in this room you are now, mate. Now, we've got a bit of a short one here today. I don't have 53 animals I have to list off, so pretty much this one predates me joining on the roll. This report went up back in 2019-2020, and essentially it was approved for Capras to get a new 10-year lease, but before we put that up, they moved from an incorporation to a limited body, and so we're just going back and fixing up the administration error that was made initially, and that's pretty much it. Nothing has essentially changed from that.
No worries. Councillor Rutherford, as committee chair, I can't see your microphone because of the water
sorry,
jug.
it wasn't on.
My apologies.
No. All good. As Jack said, this is tidying up something that had already been approved. So they're really, even if we've changed our mind, which I'm guessing we haven't, it's a done deal. It's just about changing, getting the name correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Mathers.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Through you to Jack, if that's all right.
Yes.
Morning, Jack. Jack, just a question. I note that it's a 10-year period, yet all the other leases that we do with these other bodies, incorporated bodies, are usually 6 years. Could you just explain to me how that came about, that it was a 10-year lease?
Well, as this one sort of predates me, I'm not entirely sure on the initial one for that decision, but I would believe it'd just be more for their, because initially they were doing improvements to the facility, or I think Justin might have a bit more, get a bit more notice on it.
Through the Chair, sorry, just to add on to what Jack's saying, it certainly does predate both of us, the officer's report at the time. What I believe from the previous report, the detail was talking about their investment. They were doing quite a significant amount of changes to the facilities, the shed, and with that investment, they were looking for a more secure long-term period that they could operate that facility as a gymnasium for their program. So I think those points considered is what drove that 10-year proposal that Council did support at that time, just for a bit of context.
All right, thank you. Yeah,
thanks for that.
Thanks. Yeah, Mr Chair, I just wanted to say, not that I've got an issue with it being 10 years, I just thought for consistency, for making it line up with all the other leases, because that's what we've been basically trying to do, hasn't it? Has been align them all so you can do them all in one go. So I just would have thought maybe that would have been 12 years, but once again, it's because of it predates you guys. So it was just something I was interested in. That was all.
Absolutely, and through the Chair, I guess when they go to renew again, certainly that 6-year period that we do have as a standard would be back on the table unless there was some extenuating circumstances to consider differently. So absolutely, point there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Just a question, probably Justin while he's up there still.
Yeah.
But Jack may know the answer, I'm not sure. In the report it talks about the Capra's sublease to other organisations. Do they charge those organisations to be there?
Through the chair, to my knowledge, I don't think that ever came to fruition, or if it did, they no longer have any kind of sublease agreement, not that we've been informed of, or sorry, user group. However, we can take that on notice and confirm that and circulate any updates that might highlight groups that are working within there. Just to our knowledge.
I'd just be concerned if they're actually charging more than what they're paying.
Absolutely, certainly, and under the Land Act and the leasing, I guess, structure, there are some rules in that, and council, I think through officer, through general manager level, those higher fees and agreements do need to be endorsed, so we'll take that on notice and check it out.
Thank you, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Rutherford.
I guess the comment was made, their investment into the facility. So do we know whether they've put toilets in there yet?
Through the chair, no, we can't comment on that. I'm not entirely too sure. We can take it on notice and find out, but...
Yeah, and through the chair, I was in there probably 6 months ago on another matter and there was no amenities at that point, so they're still utilising the public toilets in the Leichhardt Park area.
So I'm just wondering, if they were granted a 10-year lease for investment into the facility, what have they invested in the facility? There's a trade-off there. If they've got a 10-year lease, we should have seen some investment, and I would have thought the toilet block or toilets within their facility would have been first priority. So.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Rutherford, would take it on notice as to what, and I'll go back to that previous report as to what the priorities were. The report was talking about there used to be an awning, so that, I guess at the time of that report, the proposal for 10 years, they had built in the end of the shed, created some offices within that open space area that they built in. However, no amenities were built as a part of that proposal from what I've seen on the previous report that officers brought forward. And just through our day-to-day operations and our relationship with them, we know that they're using the Leichhardt Park public toilet. So, and I don't believe there's any future plan that they are looking to build the amenities within that facility at this point.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, the reason there are some issues with the use of the public toilet there and the state of the toilets and the cooperation between groups and things like that. It's not running as smoothly and hasn't done for quite some time. So there are some issues there that staff are certainly trying to stay on top of, and Councillor Wickerson gets calls now and then from community close by, so it's not one that's smooth sailing as such.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rutherford. With that, maybe sort of follow up, do we have one more committee meeting in this council term? No. It may be something there we follow up in the new council.
Yep, certainly through the chair, council, we can go back to the CQ Capras, obviously get a little bit of an update on their future plan for that asset, that lease, and that operation within the Leichhardt Park area. Through the chair, as Councillor Rutherford mentioned, operationally we're working with all the leasing groups, members of the public around those relationships, and obviously when there's multiple parties with different intentions, different uses, it can create some issues. So we do try and manage that as best we can, and we can bring an update back to the council in the new year.
Thank you for that. Any more questions? Oh yes, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, so this is the park where they have the little train too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a separate lease, or like who manages that?
Yeah, so through the chair, the MELSA, Model Engineers Live Steamers Association, so they have a lease over the section where the trains are, and then Leichhardt's got the gym building on the corner.
Okay. Because I'm sure that the really nice shed there was funded by Stanwell Corporation a few years ago.
Through the chair, yeah, the Melsa open shed was I believe it was through grant funding through Stanwell. I think it says on the side of it there last time I looked at it. So,
but that's nothing to do with the CAPRAs.
No.
Okay.
Okay, no further questions. Chair, would you like to move?
Happy to move.
Councillor Rutherford, seconded. Councillor Wickerson, all those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you, Jack, for that report, and also Justin. So we'll move on to our next report. Item 10.8.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Through the Chair, morning Council. 11.8, this report ultimately identifies, I believe it's 7 pending leases within the region that are set to expire at the end of the financial year. And I looked at take a quick step back over the last probably 12, 18 months. We've been working through getting our leasing across our community organisations up to date, rather than coming back to the table when they have thus already expired. So this is our first step of identifying what's coming in the next 12 months, and working with council to get the support to renew them and start those early discussions and negotiations for those groups. So the 7 groups are defined within the report. The table has talked about the asset ownership. I know that has been a topic that we like to review as a part of this renewal process. 2 of the clubs being the Dog Obedience and the Dog Obedience asset located within Duthie Park, and the, I forget the club's name, I do apologise. So Frenchville Sports Club hold the lease over the building at Kelka Shades, the brick clubhouse building. Those 2 assets are owned and maintained by council. In this report, we are proposing that the status quo has remained. We'll still continue to own them under those leasing structures. The rest will be club owned and maintained.
Thank you for that. As you know, probably you go through just about every councillor there is liable to be no, I forgot the word now, no, escaped me, I'll leave that go. I think, any other questions? No other questions? Councillor Rutherford.
Yep. Sorry,
Just the jug kind of obscures your mic at times.
Yes, yes, sorry. Just in the, all of these clubs are all still viable?
Yes, through the Chair, to our knowledge, and look, I'll be honest, we'll have a sit down and have a detailed conversation about what that renewal will look like for them, and I may have missed a line in this. Normally I put in there a comment around if there is any feedback from the clubs when we have that more detailed discussion on the renewal front, that they might be, looking to wind down, or anything in that nature. We'd bring a further report back to the table to consider. To our knowledge and our current relationships with them, they are active and they are certainly providing very effective programs within the region. So.
That's fantastic to hear. I'm happy to move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Seconded, Councillor...
No, just comment if I can, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Just to comment, Justin, the Brothers Cricket Club.
Yep.
If there was something to happen with the master plan of the showgrounds, how does that impact on it if they've got a long-term lease?
Yeah. Through the Chair, Councillor Lutcham, so this particular lease is speaking specifically about, I know they've got 2 leases. They've got a short-term lease over a building along the roadway. This lease renewal identifies their cricket nets specifically. Currently, I guess at an officer, from my consideration, understanding there is a broader master planning initiative happening. Looking at the plans, looking at that discussion and that feedback we've been providing, the notion of that asset not being impacted is my understanding. look, for whatever reason, this goes across the board. If there was ever going to be a change or use or something proposed by council for any of our community spaces, the way the lease and the tenure is structured, there are conditions within that council as the trustee and the lessee being the community group, if they wanted to relocate, change or basically cancel or surrender, there is a process to do that. So for whatever reason, through our master planning initiatives, if there was a change in the next 6 years that might implicate one of these user groups, there are conditions that we can act upon both ways with those groups. So
no, that's fine. I appreciate that, because I wouldn't want it to stop a bigger picture.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's so the lease, the trustee leases certainly give us the provisions to work with the lessees if there was a change in objective or a solution that looked at a different location. There's certainly pathways there.
Councillor Latcham, you're happy to second yes with that? My comment before was, I couldn't think of the word patron. So I know that that's all acceptable on the Act, but just I thought if councillors said, do you want to make the comment that they're a patron of that club, just to have it on record. I am the patron of the Rockhampton Dog Obedience Club, and if anyone else wants to make any comment, just say that it was there. That's okay. So we have this moved by Councillor Rutherford, seconded by Councillor Latcham. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you for that report, Justin. This has good to see that progressing. Now we're on to the Parks Progress Report, and Aaron, across to you.
Good morning, Acting Mayor and Councillors. While I acknowledge it's been it's been 5 months since our last update report, but on behalf of the Parks team, it's with pride and immense satisfaction to return to the committee with examples of success and objectives achieved by our team over the last several months, as well as sharing what we're currently seeking to achieve. So across the board in our team, collaboration and teamwork remains high, and we continue working towards our common goal of growing great spaces everyone enjoys and we're proud of. We all feel really well placed on the eve of our summer growing season. It's nice to finally see some rain, but we feel confident to continue providing our community with parks and spaces that are safe and well presented all the time. Contained within the report, we've got some key operational achievements. Just like to mention some of those specifically, but we've got multiple landscaping and refurbishment work, so increasing the presentation, improving maintenance outcomes, and also worker and public safety through a range of initiatives, particularly reuse of FRW soil to improve our ground conditions, so filling in holes, covering over rocky ground, greatly contributes towards improved safety, stops us hurting our equipment, projectile management and different things like that. I'd just like to spotlight on the zoo. We mentioned there the story time being delivered by the library team on site at the zoo, which was a great success. Also having the teacher professional development session there on site as well with a range of other council stakeholders. And we've seen 2,000 Singaporean soldiers through the gates as well recently. In addition to those operational achievements, councillors, attached to the report are our 90-day achievements, both what we've achieved since April and also our current objectives in the current quarter. By continuing to operate in the 90-day style, we're able to focus on what brings us closer to our common goal and delivering in short, sharp sprints and with collaboration across the whole Parks team in the process, which has been a great success as well. So we have realigned our 90 days outside of the financial quarter system to more of the seasonal approach, and that reflects the way in which we work as well, and certainly assists our team in delivering on that. Just lastly, councillors, it should be worth mentioning that we have a briefing session scheduled on December the 14th, and that will be aimed to discuss our progress towards service levels and the work that we've been doing through the GIS field app. So it'll be nice to bring that back and share our progress to date. And noting that we remain on track for the operational target to come back and report on those service levels. So yeah, hoping for the report to be received today and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Aaron, for that. I actually ended up with praise from school for something there that I had no part in, and that was with Judd Park. I was at the school not that long ago and talking with some of the students, and they asked if there was something that they could do with the gardens in the surrounding area. And before I could even get back, your guys started work on it there, and not always as councillors there, we usually get the daggers, but ended up getting the thanks. So I wanted to pass on that thanks from the Year 4 at Lighthouse Christian School for the work that you've done. So I just thought that was just so well timed.
It's always good when we can exceed customer expectations, councillor, so we'll certainly pass that on to the team.
Thank you for that. Now go to committee chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Great report, Aaron. Congratulations to you and the staff, because it's not just doesn't just show in these words; it actually shows out on the ground. So great work. We're certainly seeing some huge improvements around the area. A couple of comments, if I could. One, it would also be really good. I know how much work is being put in on the sport side of things. And it seems to fly under the radar a little bit. Yep. And I think it'd be great to have some information in these reports about the work that Justin and Jack are doing and the amount of time. Through the chair, I think as councillors and even the community, we don't often realise the work that goes in with getting to community groups, holding their hands through different phases and everything else, and I think it's something that we need to have acknowledged in reports like this. So if we can, without causing too much extra work, try and feed a little bit of that into there.
Yeah, certainly.
And then probably the only other thing I'd ask you is probably how areas get prioritised for upgrades and improvement, and the example I'm looking at is the Sunset Drive work. To me, there is much more high-profile areas that are desperately screaming out for work. So how did that one manage to get into the mix?
Yeah, certainly we'll take that on notice, and maybe a bit more justification or some explanation anyway. We do have, fortunately, we've got more work than there is time to do it in. So yeah, we can certainly focus on providing the why behind some of that for future reports, definitely.
Yeah, or just how things are prioritised. Yeah. You know, I guess we're all a little parochial for our own divisions, and we need to. You know, there is a need to think wider than that, and we certainly try. But when you look at some that go, this is a really high-profile area, and yet it's screaming for attention, and then there's others that are getting attention, and you go, why? Why did that trigger that?
We'll take that on notice, yeah.
But overall, thank you very much, and congratulations to the whole team.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Latcham.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's through to Aaron. Well done. Definitely exceeding customer expectations. How quickly they did Judd's Park. They got in there, the gang got in there, got it done so quickly, and no doubt to all the other ones. It will look amazing in a couple of months' time, and it's wow. So wasn't expecting it, but it looks great. It's not just one division, but I'm saying across the region, it's looking amazing. Just one point, I just want to pick up on high traffic areas, and I know Christmas is just around the corner, but is there anything in the future? Moores Creek Road itself is dead in the medium strip. It's got a few trimmed up bougainvilleas, but is there anything in the planning sometime in the future? Is one area, and the other one is Udale Drive, which had curb and channeling done, which looks amazing, but it's just bottle trees and dirt. through that area, and they've spent a lot of money obviously in that area, but it just looks a little bit sad.
Through the Chair, I can take Udale Drive on notice. I know with Moores Creek Road, we're looking at widening the Fee Street roundabout for worker safety, and that will then see re-turfing and irrigation of that median, and we'll use a low-growing turf variety that will improve our safety because we'll be on the road less. So just looking to do that all in one engagement, and yeah, just reducing some of the end pieces near the roundabout where it's a little bit unsafe. So yeah, it's definitely on the team's list. We've got a series of traffic management type improvements, and that's definitely one of them that's upcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Smith.
Well, thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Yeah, thanks, Aaron, and I appreciate, the work that your people do in this very, very hot weather we're having. Just wondering about Cedric Archer Park, but first of all, have we, in your previous reports, have we had any plan from the main roads about landscaping in Laurie Street? I'm not sure where they're going to put it because there's not much room. Or anywhere else in Gracemere. Was there a plan put forward about further plantings?
Yeah, through the Chair, outside of this report, officers from Parks and from the Civil Design team have been working with the TMR project team and looking at the balance of their project budget to be allocated towards greening and tree planting type programs. So just working with the department on reaching an agreement. Once we're at that point that we've got that contractual arrangement with the department, we'll report back on what those projects are going to be, but they are seeking to offset, the loss of, visual amenity. Unfortunately for us, it looks likely to not be within their project footprint, but it will contribute towards other works in Gracemere. So, yeah, ongoing negotiation, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you. But also, if I could, I have put it in as a request for the next stage of Cedric Archer Park for the older kids, a playground for the older kids. I think we were looking at a flying fox, something like that, but also more shade trees and shade structures. Like if you don't get there real early in the morning and book that one popular large shade structure for a party, you sort of miss out. And just wondered if we could possibly look at providing those in the near future, the shade structures, and also we definitely need more shade trees around that area as well. We'd have to sort of look at the master plan, I suppose, and see what room there is as well.
Yeah, through the Chair, thanks, Councillor Smith, and we'll take that on board for our budget development going forward.
Okay, thank you, because there's still, everywhere you drive out there, there's still new houses being built, so we're still getting plenty of kids out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Mathers, then Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just looking for lights.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries at all. Aaron, thanks very much for the report. I figured it mustn't have been too long before we were going to see you because I knew it was a little bit overdue. But I just want to say, thanks for the report. I did have some questions in regards to how preparation for the growing season was going and how the AIS mapping and the app was going to go. But Mr Chair, I'll hold those questions back because you're saying we'll be having a briefing in the next couple of weeks. So, but yeah, good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Through you to Aaron. Just one really quick question about installation of the rowing course. Councillors might recall last time we had some issues around, I think it was staff training to do. Have they been resolved now? And I know it's probably multiple parts of council that get involved. I know Justin was involved, and I think Fitzroy Water with the boats and stuff. But has all that been sorted now so they'll be right to go next time we need to do all that?
Through the Chair, and Justin, feel free to correct me if it's wrong, but it remains a work in progress, to get ourselves ready for the upcoming season. So the team have undertaken a pretty extensive assessment of what is required, and as you appreciate, it is quite a complex task that's undertaken. So more of a high level review with a view to looking at how we can implement it differently or better into the future. Understanding that most rowing courses are in flat, non-tidal, low water movement type environment. So yeah, ours is quite unique in that aspect.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Through to Aaron, it's great to see the koala plantation being undertaken, obviously at the Botanic Gardens. I just want to throw something out there. The Buderim Botanic Gardens, which is absolutely amazing if you've ever been there, but part of their thing they do is they have, within their eucalypts, they actually have 6 or 8 koalas, free range, out in amongst it, so you can actually go and see them in their natural habitat. And that was an amazing concept, that they're not in cages, they're out there in the open, and they've planted obviously enough eucalypts out there for them to go around from one to the other. Just a suggestion out there, the eucalypt garden out near the Kershaw Gardens, near the waterfall, is that something you could potentially be planting whatever the koalas eat there, and obviously have free range koalas out there? It's just an attraction, but no, but they can grow up and then no one can touch them. The idea is for them to live out in the open without people actually being able to harass them. So just an idea out there. There could be another attraction for the Kershaw Gardens.
Through the chair, I'm not sure how we go with permitting or the operation of that. I'm not sure what species are there, and koalas are notoriously finicky feeders, so they will only
eat. If they planted whatever they eat, like you're doing, then over there, and in 15, 20 years' time, when they're big enough, it might be something as you could add koalas into that environment.
Through the chair, we certainly find the most cost-effective way for us is to keep a small population of koalas within the Rockhampton Zoo, where we've got a consolidated collection of animals, and harvest appropriate eucalypts as we see fit. But yeah, we can certainly take ideas on board. Operating animals across 2 different sites might prove problematic. I know in the new year we're looking, probably in the middle of the next year, to come back with the Botanic Gardens and Zoo redevelopment, and look at what we've achieved and try and reprioritise. So yeah, whether there's some considerations.
And I get that, Aaron. This is food source at the gardens for the ones that are in captivity.
Yeah.
But that's one side of it. The other one is those who aren't going to be in captivity, but they've got a food source to just as something different.
Yeah.
As an attraction to go to the Kershaw Gardens. Just another one, feather in the bow to say that's why we go there. So it's chalk and cheese between the two. One's in captivity, one's not. But it's a longer term plan, I get it, and it'd have to be the plants they eat.
Yeah.
Maybe nestled in amongst those other eucalypts that are there, and it's easily accessible to the public to see. So anyway, just an idea.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Mathers and then Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks very much, Mr Chair. It was, Councillor Latcham just reminded me of something, and I sort of thought I might as well bring it up now while I think about it, Aaron. I was doing a community catch-up down at Michael O'Hanlon Park down at Lakes Creek, and I was talking to some of the residents there, and they were saying they quite regularly see park staff down there harvesting the trees for koala, food and that sort of thing. And there was something they brought up, which was about 2 times a year, contractors will go in there and they'll trim all the tops of those trees underneath the power lines. And they say they just turn up, grab them, cut them all down pretty viciously, and then mulch them. Grind them up and take them away. So I just don't know whether it might be worthwhile zoo staff talking to those contractors and trying to coordinate when they're trimming, because if they're cutting them down and mulching them up, we can take them away and use them. So I didn't know whether park staff were aware of that or not. That was all.
Through the chair, we can pass that on to the team and see what we can do.
Better off giving to the koalas than going to waste. Is it? Yeah. So it's hard to coordinate with them. Yeah. And they're gone. Yeah. Yeah, because these, through the chair, Mr CEO, these residents were saying that at one stage they saw the staff down there harvesting, and then like a day later or 2 days later, the contractors were there chopping them. So, yeah. Okay. Just a thought.
That's an understatement, Mr CEO, but you're very correct. Any more questions? Councillor Rutherford, as chair of committee, would you like to move it? I'll actually second that, and commend
Thank you.
all of your team. It is so good when you get members of the community there that have positive things to say, and that is something that is becoming more evident. So thank you very much for that report. And it's been moved by Chair Councillor Rutherford, second myself. All those in favour, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, well, it brings us to the end of our open sessions. Has anybody got any questions or anything? If not, we might move to... Yep, happy to have 10 minutes. So we'll go 11 minutes. If we take a break and resume at 11:20.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine.
Okay, resume the meeting at 11:27. We don't have to move that, do we? Just, do I have to move and second that? To resume? Okay, happy to move. Councillor Rutherford, second, that we resume the meetings. All those in favour? And that's carried. So, we move on to our next item there, item 14. It's actually in closed session. So, in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, that we resolve to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items. Do I have to go any further than that? I think that's right. So I would like to move that we go into closed session. Oh, move to discuss. I move that. Seek a second. Councillor Smith. And then now move to go into... Yep, we have. All of those in favour? Carried. Now, I've got it mixed up. Sorry about this. And now that we move to go into closed session. Moved Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Wickerson. All those in favour? And that's carried. We'll now move into closed session.
Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Yeah, are we live? We're live now? Okay. So, Councillor Mathers has...
Can I just question the wording there? Are we actually commencing legal proceedings? Aren't we being called into legal proceedings?
Technically, we would be commencing legal proceedings by issuing the complaint summons. So we'd withdraw the infringement notice and have to then issue a complaint summons to then be heard in court. So technically, we undertake the...
Oh, there's an explanation above it. That's all right. All good.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. So it's been moved by Councillor Mathers, seconded by Councillor Rutherford. No more questions, and all those in favour, and that's carried. And Councillor Smith? recorded her vote against this motion. Okay, that being the last item of this morning's meeting, I declare the meeting closed at 11:44.